Hello, I'm Illinois State Treasurer Dan Rutherford, and you're watching Tape with Rabbi Doug.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight. But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're gonna watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. We are here at AIPAC Policy Conference 13, and I am here in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Convention Center with Illinois State Treasurer Dan Rutherford. Welcome to the show once again.
Rabbi, thank you. It's good to be back.
Last time I think we were at the Thompson Center when you were on the show with me, and here we are in Washington, D.C. So rumors have it, and you are here telling us that you are planning to run for governor of Illinois. Is that true?
Well, we're not making an announcement today.
Okay.
Let me just say up front that I've got a lot of friends involved with the activities out here. Come out here tonight just to be here for one day and part of the conference, and then I go back to Springfield and Chicago. But in the not too distant future, we will be making an announcement, and I can tell you up front right now, we are very seriously looking at the run for governor of the state of Illinois.
Wonderful. Do you expect to have any opponents on your side of the party?
I would think so.
Yeah.
I mean, there's good people out there that are talking about running for governor on the Republican side of the aisle, and you know, there's time yet to see if they actually throw their hat in the ring, and if they do, we'll have ourselves a respectful and probably a pretty aggressive race.
So people that only know you, Dan, as the state treasurer, what was your introduction to politics originally?
Well, it came from it seemed like it was forever ago, but I actually, as a very, very young man, was involved in the Ronald Reagan campaign. In fact, I was executive director of this campaign for the state of Illinois when I was in my early 20s, and then moved on to be elected to the Illinois State House and the State Senate. But I think the most important part about what I liked in my adulthood was I was actually 25 years in the private sector. I was 25 years as a vice president of Service Master Corporation, which is in Service Master Clean, we run Terminex, Pest Control, True Green, and so forth. So I was responsible for our global expansion. And I tell you that because I'm a real life businessman who's been involved with receivables and payables and government regulations and taxes and just all the kind of stuff that I think is part of the challenges we have going on right now here in the state of Illinois.
Well, and that's part of why Illinois is not in bad shape compared to some other states, which are talking about going bankrupt right now, which hopefully Illinois will not be doing thanks to you.
Well, we're not going to go bankrupt because well, the Constitution of the United States will let states go bankrupt. But other than that, there is a way to turn Illinois around. And we need to have ourselves, I think, a good steward as the chief executive officer, as the governor, someone who understands business, someone who understands that you keep your pocketbook safe from the government. You look at where we can increase our employment for small employers and also for our larger ones. And we put ourselves into a competitive situation that we don't find states like Indiana, Iowa, Missouri, and Wisconsin coming in here and asking people to come work and live in their states.
So tell me, you know, as you are exploring the possibility of running for governor, what do you think that you can put into the governor's office that others wouldn't be doing?
I can put into it a sense of business. I mean, you look around at the individuals that are in government control, who are controlling our government today, they've not had real life business experience. And you look at those that are looking to be actually possibly running for governor. I mean, I respect lawyers and I respect people that have got other occupations, but when it gets down to it, who actually has hired people? Who actually has had the chance to sell? Who's actually had the chance to say, we're going to expand? I've got that portfolio. I think those are the kind of things that I can bring to the governor's office, and the fact that I've had government experience, that I've actually been in Springfield while still being in the private sector. I think those skill sets will help me be a good governor in the state of Illinois.
Well, I wish you much success, and I hope whatever decision you make, it turns out to be the right one for the people of Illinois.
Will you do me a favor?
Yes.
Will you put me back on, Rabbi?
I sure will. Dan Rutherford right here, state treasurer, possibly running for governor of the state of Illinois. We are here at AIPAC Policy Conference 13 in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Convention Center. Stay with us right here on Tape with Rabbi Doug.
And now, please welcome your host, Richard Kynes.
Good evening. We are gathered here tonight to select a new pope. I'm sorry. It's the wrong convention. I'm so embarrassed. Is there matzah brai on my face? Oh my God. Good evening. Shalom. Shalom. I love that. Fantastic. This is a great evening, a wonderful evening. Jews from all over the country, all over the world, people who support Israel. A great night for Israel. A great night for American-Israeli relations. A miserable night for Chinese restaurants. Let me tell you something. I'm here because AIPAC did a wonderful, wonderful thing for me. After many, many years on this planet, I finally went to Israel thanks to AIPAC. And I drank the Kool-Aid. I loved my time there. To the people, I loved it, okay? And if I may quote Charles Dickens, please, sir, I want some more. So let me tell you, I come back, I live in New York, and I come back from Israel, and I'm walking down the street, and there's a storefront that says Israel Bakery. And I go, oh my gosh, I love Israel Bakery. I just came from Israel, this is unbelievable. So I walk in, and I'm just delighted, the smells, everything, and I say, listen, I'm so happy to be here. I'd like a loaf of rye bread, please. And they said, that'll be $10. So what, $10 for a loaf of rye bread? They said, yes, it's $5 for the loaf of rye bread, and it's $5 for Israel. I said, okay, fine, it's fine, because I love Israel, I love the people, the food, everything. I'm happy to pay it, I support it. So I take it out. About a week later, I go back. I come back in. I said, the bread was wonderful. I'd like a dozen bagels, please. He said, that'll be $24. Go with $24 for a dozen bagels. He said, yes, it's $12 for the bagels, and it's $12 for Israel. I said, that's fine. I'm happy to pay it because I give on my own. I'm happy to support Israel. That's fine. About a week later, I come back into the bakery. I said, listen, I want a birthday cake for my daughter, but before I buy it, I want to know how much is it. It says it's $90. I go, $90? He goes, yeah, it's $45 for the cake. But I go, I know. 45 for the cake, 45 for Israel. Listen, let me talk to the manager. The guy goes, Israel! Don't tell me by the book. That's too good.
I'm Michael Caston of AIPAC. You're watching Taped with Rabbi Doug.
I'm honored to introduce and welcome a friend who stands with us now and has stood with us always, a steadfast supporter of the U.S.-Israel relationship, the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden.
What a difference 40 years makes. I look out there and see an old friend, Annette Lantos. Annette, how are you? Her husband, Tom Lantos, survivor, was my assistant, was my foreign policy advisor for years, and Tom used to say all the time, Joe. He talked that Hungarian accent, Joe. We must do another fundraiser for AIPAC. I did more fundraisers for AIPAC in the 70s and early 80s than just about as many as anybody. Thank God we weren't putting on shows like this. We would have never made it. Never made it. My Lord, it's so great to be with you all and great to see Mr. President. Thank you so much for that kind introduction, and President-elect Bob Cohen, the entire AIPAC Board of Directors. I'm delighted to be with you today, but I'm particularly delighted to be with an old friend. And he is an old friend. We use that phrase lightly in Washington, but it's real, and I think he'd even tell you, Ehud Barak. It's great to be with you. There is a stand-up guy. There is a stand-up guy. Standing up for his country, putting his life on the line for his country, continuing to defend the values that we all share. I'm a fan of the man. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of you know me, if you're old enough. Some of you don't know me and understand I can't see now, but in the bleachers either side, I'm told you have 2,000 young AIPAC. We talked about this a lot over the years. We talked about it a lot. This is the lifeblood. This is the connective tissue. This is the reason why no American will ever forget. You got to keep raising it. Ladies and gentlemen, we've stood shoulder to shoulder, a lot of us on this auditorium, defending the legitimate interest of Israel and our enduring commitment over the last 40 years. And many of you in this hall, I won't start to name them, but many of you in this hall, starting with Annette Lantos, his husband, who is not here, God rest his soul. Many of you in this hall have been my teachers, my mentors, and my educators. And that is not hyperbole. You literally have been. But my education started, as some of you know, at my father's dinner table. My father is what you would have called a righteous Christian. We gathered at my dinner table to have conversation and incidentally eat as we were growing up. It was at that table I first heard the phrase, and is overused sometimes today, but in a sense not used meaningfully enough. First I heard the phrase, never again. It was at that table that I learned that the only way to ensure that could never happen again was the establishment and existence of a secure Jewish state of Israel. I remember my father, Christian, being baffled at the debate taking place at the end of World War II, talking about, I don't remember it at that time, but about how there could be debate about whether or not, within the community, of whether or not to establish the state of Israel. My father would say, were he a Jew, he would never entrust the security of his people to any individual nation, no matter how good and how noble it was, like the United States. Everybody knows it's real. But I want you to know one thing, which some of you, I've met with a lot of you over the last 40 years, but the last 4 years as well. President Obama shares my commitment. We both know that Israel faces new threats, new pressures, and uncertainty. The defense minister and I have discussed it often. In the area of national security, the threats to Israel's existence continue, but they have changed as the world and the region have changed over the last decade. The Arab Spring, at once full of both hope and uncertainty, has required Israel and the United States to reassess old and settled relationships. Iran's dangerous nuclear weapons program, and has continued to support terrorist organizations like Hezbollah and Hamas, not only endanger Israel, but endanger the world. Attempts of much of the world to isolate and delegitimize the state of Israel are increasingly common and taken as the norm in other parts of the world. All these pressures are similar but different, and they put enormous pressure on the state of Israel. We understand that, and we especially understand that if we make a mistake, It's not a threat to our existence, but if Israel makes a mistake, it could be a threat to its very existence. And that's why from the moment the President took office, he has acted swiftly and decisively to make clear to the whole world and to Israel that even as circumstances have changed, one thing has not: our deep commitment to the security of the State of Israel. That has not changed. That will not change as long as I am President and Vice President of the United States. It's in our naked self-interest, beyond the moral imperative. All of you, I thank you for continuing to remind the nation of the world. That was most poignantly pointed out to me when I was a young senator making my first trip to Israel. I had the great honor, and that is not hyperbole, of getting to meet for the first time, and subsequently I met her beyond that, Golda Meir. She was the Prime Minister. Now, I'm sure every kid up there said, you can't be that old. I hope that's what you're saying. But seriously, the first trip I ever made. You all know those double doors. You go into the office with blonde furniture and the desk on the left side, if my memory serves me correctly. And Golda Meir, as the Prime Minister and as the Defense Minister, she had those maps behind her. That you could pull down all those maps like you had in geography class in high school. And she sat behind her desk, and I sat in a chair in front of her desk, and a young man was sitting to my right, who was her assistant. His name is Yitzhak Rabbi. Seriously, absolutely true story. And she sat there, chain smoking, and reading letters to me, letters from the front, the 6-Day War. She read letters, about, and then told me how this young man or woman had died, and this little family. And this went on for I don't know how long, and I guess she could tell I was visibly moved by this. I was getting depressed about, oh my God, what? And she suddenly looked at me and said, I give my word as a Biden. She looked at me and said, Senator, would you like a photo opportunity? And I looked at her and I said, well, yes, Madam Prime Minister. And we walk out those doors, and we walked out the doors, we stood there, no statements. And we're standing next to one another, looking at this array of media, television and photojournalists, snapping pictures. We're looking straight ahead. Without looking at me, she speaks to me. She said, Senator, don't look so sad. She said, we have a secret weapon. We have a secret weapon in our confrontation in this part of the world. And I thought she's about to lean over and tell me about a new system. And because you can see the picture, I still have them, I turned to look at her. We're supposed to be looking straight ahead. And I said, Madam Prime Minister, she never turned her head, kept looking. She said, our secret weapon, Senator, is we have no place else to go. We have no place else to go. Ladies and gentlemen, our job is to make sure there's always a place to go, that there's always an Israel, that there's always a secure Israel, and there's an Israel that can care for itself. My father was right. You are right. It's the ultimate guarantor of never again. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
I'm Congressman Elliot Engler. We're watching Tape with Rabbi Doug.
I know you know this man who I'm going to introduce because I heard his name called and you screamed and yelped and hooray. He used to work for AIPAC. He has been a senior member on trips bringing more than 100 Republican congressmen to Israel. He is the House Majority Leader.
You know, tonight we celebrate a friendship between two countries. Simple in concept, but mighty in force. This friendship is centered on commitment to community and dedication to faith. It values education, human progress, and the guarantee of opportunity for all. With this friendship, the world is a better place. The alliance between the United States and Israel is often tested, but never shaken. We've helped protect each other, we've helped protect our friends, and we've helped protect humanity. If there is a tsunami, our military and aid ships are the first to set sail. If disease is ravaging a nation, or as is the case of AIDS in Africa, an entire continent, we send help, and we save lives. Israel shares our moral compass. When massive earthquakes struck Haiti and Turkey, Israel was among the first to offer assistance. And hundreds of Israeli rescue workers responded. They responded to the deadly terrorist attacks in East Africa, saving the lives of Africans injured in the attacks on our America's embassies. For those of us who visited Israel, you know what a special place it is. You've walked down the Tayelet in Tel Aviv on Thursday afternoon, and you've seen the people leisurely lingering in cafes as the waves of the Mediterranean crash in the background. But for many Americans, the only images of Israel that they see are of blown-out clubs and cafes, missiles firing, death and tragedy. That in itself is a tragedy. To all of you here tonight at AIPAC, the future depends on your voice. It must be heard on Capitol Hill, and it must be heard by this administration, and it must be heard around this country by the American people. We must now and forever stand with Israel, or we risk losing the great promise of America. Thank you very much, AIPAC. Thank you for all you do. Good night. Thank you.
Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Thank you for everything you do to strengthen the great alliance between Israel and the United States of America. Let me say a special hello to my friend, Vice President Biden. He just spoke there. And I have to say that I've learned over the years so much from Joe. I intend to form a strong and stable government in the days ahead. And the first thing that my new government will have the privilege of doing is to warmly welcome President Obama to Israel. I look forward to the President's visit. I look forward to discussing with President Obama, when he comes here later this month, all these issues. But in addition, I'll have a chance to show President Obama a different side of Israel. Israel that has become a technological marvel. It's teeming with innovation. Israel that each day pushes the boundaries of medicine and science to the ends of human imagination. Israel that has one of the world's most vibrant cultures and one of the world's most dynamic peoples. Israel, the modern Jewish state, living in the ancient Jewish homeland, an oasis of liberty and progress in the heart of the Middle East where these ideas have yet to take root. That is the Israel that all of you know. That is the Israel that all of you love. That is the Israel that so many Americans love. And that is the Israel that will never stop standing, shoulder to shoulder, with a country that has been the greatest force for good the world has ever known, the United States of America. God bless America, God bless Israel, and God bless the American-Israeli alliance. God bless you all. Thank you.
being with us. That's it for part one here at Policy Conference 13 at AIPAC here in Washington, D.C. I want to thank everyone who's helped us out today on the show, and I know you'll want to be with us next time on part two, so stay with us here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone.
In America, we have an American Idol, and in Israel, and you're going to think this is because I'm up here being funny, but this is true, there is Israel Idol, and we have the winner of Israel Idol. She happens to be from Sderot. Where I have visited. I was lucky enough. And so we welcome from Israel the winner of the Israeli version of American Idol, Hagit Yasso, to sing Hatikva.
מרגיש צלול היום, אני מרגיש צלול היום, איתך ולחלום, אני מרגיש צלול פתאום.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.